A chase through Paris. August 31st, 1997. Paris, France. Diana, Princess of Wales, is in the back of a black Mercedes with Dodi Fayed, trying to leave the Ritz without being swallowed by cameras. She is 36 years old, one of the most photographed women on Earth. They leave from the rear entrance just after midnight. Diana is dressed in black, her hair set, her face calm. Outside, photographers are already moving. The car cuts through central Paris with paparazzi behind it. Witnesses later describe the Mercedes moving too fast, fishtailing before it reaches the tunnel. Neither Diana nor Dodi is wearing a seatbelt. Ahead is the Pont de l'Alma underpass, bright with white tiles and unforgiving concrete. Inside the tunnel, the Mercedes loses control and slams into the 13th pillar. The front of the car is crushed almost beyond recognition. Dodi Fayed and driver Henry Paul are killed in the wreck. Bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones survives with catastrophic injuries. Diana is still alive when rescuers reach her. For a moment, it looks like the most famous woman in the world might survive one more impossible night. But at the hospital, after desperate surgery, she dies from her injuries. By morning, newspapers across Britain carry the same impossible headline: Princess Diana is dead. In the days that follow, the world seems to stop. Mountains of flowers rise outside Kensington Palace, and a woman who could never escape the cameras is finally mourned in complete stillness. A bedroom prepared for sleep. June 25th, 2009. Los Angeles, California. Michael Jackson is 50 years old and days away from the comeback he believes will put him back on top. London is waiting. This Is It concerts are supposed to restart everything. Rehearsals have been intense. He is exhausted and obsessed with one thing he can no longer get naturally: sleep. At his rented home in Holmby Hills, the night does not end properly. It just drags into morning. Jackson's personal physician, Conrad Murray, is with him. Powerful drugs meant for surgery, not normal bedtime, are part of the routine. While outside the house, everything is quiet. Inside, one of the most famous entertainers on the planet is being chemically pushed toward unconsciousness. Sometime around midday, Jackson stops breathing. Paramedics are called to the house. He is rushed to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, but the effort to revive him fails. He is pronounced dead that afternoon. The news detonates around the world within minutes. Radio stations switch formats. Fans gather in the streets. Websites crash. Later, the Los Angeles County coroner rules his death a homicide caused by acute propofol intoxication, with other sedatives also in his system. Murray is eventually convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Jackson had spent his life controlling sound, image, rhythm, and spectacle. But the final scene is painfully small: a bedroom, a doctor, a body that would not wake up, and a comeback that never happened. A bathtub in Beverly Hills. February 11th, 2012. Beverly Hills, California. Whitney Houston is at the Beverly Hilton on Grammy weekend, the kind of weekend that should have fit her perfectly. Music executives are everywhere. Cameras are everywhere. The city is dressed for celebration. Houston is 48, still instantly recognizable, still carrying one of the greatest voices pop music ever produced, and still trying to hold together the image of a return. In the days before her death, people around her notice that she does not seem steady. There are reports of erratic behavior, exhaustion, and strain. Even so, she is still moving through the weekend. She appears at rehearsals. She sings briefly with Kelly Price. The old power is still there in flashes. Then the door of Suite 434 closes. Inside the bathroom, Houston ends up submerged in the tub. When hotel staff and members of her entourage realize something is wrong, paramedics are called. They arrive and begin CPR, but there is nothing they can do. She is pronounced dead that afternoon, just one day before the Grammy Awards. The official finding is accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. The image is brutal because of how ordinary the room is. Not on a stage, not under a spotlight. Just a luxury hotel bathroom, white tub, folded towels, and silence. One of the biggest voices in modern music dies alone while the industry prepares to celebrate itself a few floors away. The King on the Bathroom Floor. August 16th, 1977. Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis Presley is 42 years old and still living inside Graceland like a man trapped in his own myth. The house is huge and theatrical, but by this point it also feels shut off from reality. He is supposed to leave that evening for another tour date. The machine is still moving, even if the man at the center of it is visibly breaking down. For years, the pressure has shown on his body. The crowd still scream, the jumpsuits still glitter, but the man inside them is swollen, exhausted, and dependent on medication. By the summer of 1977, even loyal people around him can see the decline. He spends much of the night awake, wandering between rooms, unable to settle into normal rest. Sometime that afternoon, his fiancée Ginger Alden finds him unresponsive on the bathroom floor at Graceland. He is rushed to Baptist Memorial Hospital, where attempts to save him fail. Within hours, the news spreads through Memphis, then the country, then the world. Fans flood the gates. Flowers pile up outside the mansion. The image that lasts is not the young man in the gold lame suit or the swaggering star at the microphone. It is the silence of that upstairs bathroom. The official cause was initially framed as cardiac arrest, and later reviews focused on severe underlying health problems, including heart disease. Whatever exact chain of failure ended his life, the broader picture was obvious. The king of rock and roll had spent years outrunning his own body, and eventually it caught him alone behind a locked door. Pills beside the bed. January 22, 2008, Manhattan, New York. Heath Ledger is 28 years old, living in Soho, separated from Michelle Williams, missing his daughter, working hard, sleeping badly, and carrying the kind of exhaustion that does not always show on a red carpet. His career is at a peak. He has already delivered major performances, and The Dark Knight is still months away from release. Inside the apartment, the mood is much smaller than that. Prescription medication sits nearby. There are sleeping pills, anti-anxiety drugs, painkillers. A housekeeper and a masseuse arrive. When Ledger does not respond, they find him in the bedroom. The reports from that day are stark and unglamorous. A movie star who had just become one of the most exciting actors of his generation is lying still in a private room in Lower Manhattan. He is pronounced dead at the scene. Very quickly, rumors begin racing ahead of facts. People argue about whether it was intentional, whether it was tied to stress, whether a role had consumed him, but the medical finding is more clinical and, in some ways, more frightening. It is accidental acute intoxication from the combined effects of multiple prescription drugs. That makes the scene hit harder. There is no crash, no gunfire, no dramatic public collapse. Just an apartment, a bed, medicine bottles, and a fatal combination built from substances that were individually familiar. Ledger's death feels like a modern celebrity tragedy because it happened in a world of insomnia, pressure, legal prescriptions, and the false confidence that controlled substances are safe if each one has a label on it. A house full of flu symptoms. December 20th, 2009, Hollywood Hills, California. Brittany Murphy is 32 years old. To millions of people, she is still linked with bright, fast, chaotic characters. But inside her home, the atmosphere is completely different. She has been sick for days. Reports describe flu-like symptoms, breathing trouble, and a rapid physical decline. Murphy collapses inside the house she shares with her husband, Simon Monjack. Emergency crews respond in the morning and try to save her. She is taken to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where she is pronounced dead. At first, the situation looks confused and open to rumor, exactly the kind of death that Hollywood immediately turns into whisper networks. People speculate about eating disorders, cocaine, poison, mold, sabotage, anything except the dull medical reality that can kill just as effectively as violence. The coroner later concludes that the primary cause is pneumonia, with severe iron deficiency anemia and multiple drug intoxication as contributing factors. It is one of those cases that feels unreal because the ingredients sound survivable when listed separately. A respiratory illness, weakness, prescription, and over-the-counter medication. None of it sounds cinematic. All of it together becomes fatal. That is what makes the scene so bleak. Murphy does not die in a car chase or from a scandalous crime. She dies in a house, sick and struggling for breath, while the people around her realize too late that this is not a bad week or a passing illness. It is the final emergency. The Last Night in Brentwood. August 4th, 1962. Brentwood, Los Angeles. Marilyn Monroe is 36 years old, and by this point fame has become both her profession and her atmosphere. She is no longer simply a movie star. She is an icon under constant interpretation. Every gesture becomes gossip, every silence becomes theory. But behind the legend is a woman living increasingly alone, heavily medicated, and emotionally unstable. That night, the house is quiet. Calls are made. Doors are closed. Hours pass. Sometime before dawn, concern turns into alarm. Monroe is found in her bedroom, dead on the bed, with the room around her immediately becoming one of the most famous death scenes in Hollywood history. The details fix themselves in public memory because they are intimate and eerie at the same time. A private bedroom, a telephone, pill bottles, a star who had lived in front of the camera, now unreachable in total silence. The official conclusion is a barbiturate overdose and a probable suicide. That finding never stops the theories. For decades, people attach gangsters, politicians, cover-ups, and conspiracies to her final hours. But the basic ending remains the same. Monroe died in the home she had bought for herself after a period of deep personal instability and dependence on sedatives. Her death lands with a special kind of force because Marilyn Monroe had been sold to the world as glamour made human. Blonde hair, bright smile, perfect lighting. Then, the final image cuts against all of it. Not a spotlight, not applause. just a dark bedroom in Brentwood and a body that fame could not protect. If you liked this video, hit subscribe for more like it, and let me know in the comments what you want to see next.